Good morning. So happy Monday. Hope you all had a good weekend. I posted the schedule for the week on the classroom. You can check that out. And for me, this is a 4-day week. For you, every week's a 4-day week. And then next week, you guys will have a 3-day week, and I'll have a 4-day week. So I guess it's fair. Anyway, we're going to talk just a little bit about lesson 2 of chapter 9. We're into the structures of the digestive system. And so we have all these word parts, which you can review if you like. There are a few that I want to just quickly touch on. Some of the ones that have multiple meanings. Okay, for example, denti, dento, and odonto, which is where I have my cursor right now. It depends on the usage, depends on where you're at. If you're going to the dentist, it's obviously denti. If you're going to the orthodontist, it's odonto. I'm not sure why the usage changes based on situation, but it's one of those things where we have multiple formats. Glosso and linguo. As far as building words, one of the things that you'll see, there are two different ways of saying under the tongue or beneath the tongue. All right. Under would be hypo. Beneath is usually sub. And the form you put them with also changes. So, for example, you might see hypoglossal, which would be pertaining to under the tongue. Or you might see sublingual. Okay, usually sublingual refers to like medications, and hypoglossal is more of a location term, just so you know. All right, we have a couple different mouth words. All right, oro, stomato. Again, they come from generally Latin words, and I'm not sure why we have more than one, but we do. Esophago is esophagus. We know that one. We've seen it before. Gastro, we've seen. Intestino and entero, we've seen those before too. These three right here, I've already put a note in parentheses. Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Those are just the three sections of intestine in order. Okay, where your stomach empties into the small intestine, it empties into the duodenum. That's the first section. There are some specific digestion activities that occur in the duodenum. For example, the pancreas empties some juices into the duodenum, etc. This is not anatomy, so I'm not going to go too much deeper. And then there's the jejunum, which is the next section. I misspelled intestine. So I made an error. I realized this when I was watching the video. I'm going to try to splice this in. We'll see how it goes. Okay, using the editor function of Screencastify. I had this word over here misspelled. I had the combining form with an E. It's probably like that on your paper. That's what you get when you cut and paste. It should not have an E. It's just INTESTIN/O for the combining form. I had also misspelled intestine somewhere along here. This one right here. Okay. Fixed both of those. I hope that you can forgive me. Now back to the regularly scheduled programming. And then there's the ileum, which is the third and final section that empties into the large intestine, into an area where the ileum empties into the colon. The colon is just another term for the large intestine. And right where it empties in, there's the appendix and the cecum. Okay, the appendix, we've talked about appendix before. It's that kind of vestigial organ that we don't think has much of a purpose, that really only gives us trouble. All right, I had mine out. We've talked about that before. The cecum is a little blind sac, basically where the small and large intestine meet. There is some thought that perhaps that's the start of your immune system, like where a lot of your immunity resides, in the cecum. But that's ceco. Sigmoido. Sigmoido means S-shaped or sigmoid. This is that last portion of your large intestine. Procto can mean rectum or anus. So if you're someone who is a proctologist, you're one who studies the rectum and or the anus. Recto is just rectum, ano is anus. All right, so there's your word parts for today. All right. Some accessory structures. One of the things up here at the top we talked about, the digestive system is divided into two basic sections. All right, one is the alimentary canal, which basically is from the time you put it in your mouth until the time it leaves you at defecation, it is in your alimentary canal. So any part that's in direct contact with your food when you eat it, all the way until it's turned into feces. Okay, so we have the alimentary canal, and then we have all these accessory organs, which are down here. And accessory organs are ones that don't directly touch the food, but they have important functions in digesting the food. So we have bili and chole, which we've seen before, which mean bile. We have cholecysto, which is made up of two combining forms that have been put into one. Chole, we know, is bile, and cysto is sac. Okay, so that's the gallbladder, which is the storage place for bile. We have choledocho, which is, we know chole is bile, and dacho refers to duct. This is your common bile duct. Your common bile duct is what empties the bile from the gallbladder and joins with a duct from the pancreas and empties into the duodenum. We have hepato, which is liver. That's what we've had before. Pancreato, which is pancreas, which releases some digestive enzymes. It also has some endocrine functions because it's what makes insulin, which we'll talk about later when we get to the endocrine chapter. And then sialo, which is salivary glands. Now, none of these really specifically contact the food. However, salivary glands release saliva, which contain enzymes that get digestion going. The pancreas releases digestive enzymes. The liver produces bile. All right. And it also is where your food, once it crosses the lining of the intestine, goes for processing. Let's see here. We can combine these together if we need to. You'll see that in the next section. We talk about diseases, disorders, and diagnostic terms. But for example, if we were to say where the ileum and the cecum come together, we could say the iliocecal junction. Okay. I think that's all I needed to say. So there is the practice test. It is posted on the classroom. It is for section 2 of chapter 9. I will tell you that section 3 and 4 go together and they're much bigger. And there's lots of words there. You can see a little preview here. Diseases, disorders, and diagnostic terms. There's lots of those. I tried to separate them out into like mouth-related, esophagus-related, and so on. And then if we skim forward just a little bit to surgical and therapeutic interventions, I obviously haven't finished the key for that yet. But there's a whole bunch there too. So you might want to start reviewing those because the practice test on Tuesday, and then there'll be a lot of these on the test on Wednesday. So again, if you guys are missing anything, either in Skyward or anywhere else, please reach out. I know that I've spoken with a few people who had some technical issues. I can reopen quizzes if I need to. I can reopen tests if I need to, but I need that information from you, and we need to schedule a time when you can take them. So reach out to me through email, and I'd be happy to get you caught up. So I hope we have a great week, and that's all I got.